Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Pluralsight Spotlight. I'm your host today, Adam Gunn. If you're new to the series, let me welcome you and set the table for what you're going to learn over the next 20-30 minutes. Our Spotlight series is a chance to meet some of the incredible people that differentiate the Pluralsight platform. Our brand is built on the back of these incredible course authors who bring the best of themselves to the content that they create every single day. And it's my privilege today to have with me Alice Meredith. Alice, welcome to the Spotlight.
Thank you for having me.
It's exciting that you're here. If you don't mind, I'm going to tell the audience a little bit about you. Is that
You
cool?
bet. You
Cool.
bet.
Alice is a senior HR professional and culture strategist who has led and supported high-performing teams for over 30 years. She has held a variety of leadership positions, including regional director, district manager, senior HR market manager, and senior manager labor and employee relations, and pioneered multiple innovative techniques that enhance leadership effectiveness. Alice is passionately committed to helping leaders build diverse and inclusive environments where all individual groups are free from prejudice. Alice, it's great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I got to start. I don't know if everyone knows that Pluralsight has courses that maybe fall in this soft skills category on their platform. Tell us why you think those are so valuable in the Pluralsight library.
Well, the soft skills are necessary for any employee, whether you're a tech analyst, in cybersecurity, leadership, what have you, right? To ensure relevancy in their career, whether it's communication, networking, expanding your brand, and of course, dealing with change, right? We work in these crazy changing environments these days, and soft skills help us embrace that chaos that comes with a change.
And your bio said you see yourself as a culture strategist.
Yes, I am a culture strategist.
Explain that a little bit.
What is a culture strategist and where did that come from? Absolutely. So I spent the first 15 years of my career in leadership roles, and I transitioned into a new company, Best Buy, into the HR space. I had never been in HR. Leadership had been my background, but I loved what I was learning. 15 years in Best Buy HR arena took me to a place where I became a culture strategist in labor relations. So basically, anything that had to do with culture and engagement, I was involved with. If you had to sum up my job description in one sentence, it would be to keep Best Buy union free. And that set me all across the United States, working with teams in supply chain, retail, corporate environments, project management teams, Geek Squad, IT call centers, any area that had a concern or gaps in culture or engagement. Then my time was spent working with the leaders, visiting with the teams, observing leadership's meetings, hosting town halls and insight gathering events to help identify what are the culture gaps. Then the director or executive leader over that particular team and I would build out a leadership development team, and I worked the team leaders through that process for 3 to 6 months. So 6 years of that experience brought to my attention that in every single scenario that had to do with culture, there was one common objective, and the number one gap or break had to do with change, either how leaders led the change, how the employees dealt with the change, however that came to pass, it associated with change. So that caught my interest, and I skilled up in change management. I became certified as a change management professional, joined the Association of Change Management Organization, and just branched myself, helping leaders identify skills, gaps, and ways to bypass that disastrous intersection where culture and change collide. So that is where change and culture strategists came to life. And today, after 30 years in the corporate environment, I work with small and large clients, and as an outside observer, come in and help them identify culture gaps and help them build plans to repair and fix and get their teams back moving in the right direction. So that's culture strategy. That's where that came from and what we do.
Yeah, and I don't know anyone working in software today that isn't feeling some level of pressure from, change. We have economic conditions, we have cultural conditions within companies. So I would imagine there's a lot of interest in what you're bringing to the Pluralsight platform and in other ways.
Yeah. But like you said, the soft skills domain leadership, a lot of my courses on the Pluralsight platform are human resources, belonging, right culture, change management, change leadership is not the core, right, library of what Pluralsight does, but it is certainly necessary and has been a pretty good platform for me. I've been very impressed and appreciate Pluralsight bringing all of these skills and the softer side, right, to tech alive.
And just in, the audience, there's probably a mix of leaders and mid-level managers and learners. Are your courses for everyone? Are they tailored to one of those specific personas?
So I have about 5 courses are for every individual. Doesn't matter your job grade, your job grouping, department, every individual. And those courses tie to embracing change, right? Minimizing conflict in the workplace, understanding conscious and unconscious bias. So 5 or 6 of my courses are for the general audience. The rest of them are tied to wannabe leaders, right? You want to skill up, you want to develop, you want to move up in your space, right? To take on people management and people leadership. So the rest of those courses really go into defining and refining skill sets for current leaders and potential leaders.
Maybe one more question from your backstory. I mean, what you shared about Best Buy is fascinating. My team noticed that you spent some time at Blockbuster Video.
Yes.
And, that's a company that got disrupted significantly. Are there any learnings from that phase of your career that might be brought into what you're currently teaching?
Yes. A lot of learnings came from that time. First of all, I'm impressed that your team knew who Blockbuster Video was. I have a 16-year-old son who probably doesn't have a clue. But I started with Blockbuster when I was very young. I was promoted to a manager at the first Blockbuster in Utah and eventually moved up pretty quick into district manager, regional, ran the West Coast, ran the stores in the Midwest, had 11 districts, 100 plus teams, and was able to see a company. I think I joined the company when there were close to 300 locations. And when I left, they had just passed 8,000 locations worldwide. So it was a whirlwind of a ride, but a lot of learnings, and most specifically regarding change, right? I share in one of my change management courses a story of when Netflix, right, approached Blockbuster to acquire them, and everyone looks at all these empty Blockbuster stores on the corner, right, in every little neighborhood, empty, deserted, and well, now with the economy, they're filling in with other companies, but to see a company grow so fast and then technology kind of kicked their butts a little bit, right? And put them out of commission. So that certainly was an interesting journey.
Yeah. You've recently published a course on navigating conflict in the workplace, which is tied to, but a bit adjacent to change. Can you give the audience a little bit of a teaser from that course and why you decided to focus on that as a topic?
You bet. So this is a course concept that I proposed to Pluralsight, and I was like, people need this. We need this, right? So the course title just launched this week, so thank you for bringing it up, is Minimizing, Navigating, and Resolving Conflict During Change, right? So it's certainly associated to the crazy changing environments that we all work in. So this course pulls out skills that any level of employee, leader, what have you, can use to help them get through conflicting situations that come up. Probably the greatest nugget of learning that I think this course brings to life is that conflict is good, right? Conflict is what created our economy. Conflict is what keeps competition alive. Conflict allows companies to grow and expand what they do, right? It's just how we get through the conflict and navigate it, and the skills that we need to really ensure that the conflict isn't disastrous, right? Doesn't harm us or those who are involved with it or even impact the company. So, matter of fact, that course, I have a personal editor on my courses. My husband is also an author for Pluralsight, and he helps me when I get in the bind with all the tech issues. And he was editing this course, and he came up and he said, Alice, we've got to get every domain head in Pluralsight to have their entire team watch this course. He said every tech giant company who is going through change, right? Layoffs all across the tech industries. Everything's happening. Everyone's, companies are changing and churning. And he said there's so much value in here. Now, first, my husband has heard me rant and rave about the work that I do for over 37, 38 years. And he normally just tunes me out, right? But for him to say, wow, this is a great course. Employees need this, companies need to recognize the value, any company that's going through change. So I'm really proud of this course. It's probably, some of the older courses that you did 6, 7 years ago, you're like, oh, I want to tweak that. I want to update it. I want to change it up a little bit. But I am proud of this course. It has some great concepts, I think, that will help many, many companies. So thanks for bringing it up. It's a one I'm passionate about. If you
I can
can't tell.
Clicking into that, I don't want to steal the secret sauce from the course. We'll encourage everyone to go and take that. But I'm curious, is there a simple, practical, underlying principle or practice that helps with workplace conflict in the midst of change? Is there anything you'd lead us to be thinking about?
I think it is recognizing when you get fearful of conflict, right? And to be able to intentionally, right, change your mindset, see it as an opportunity, and then manage your emotions. So the course talks about common emotions associated with change. It talks about all of us have a natural conflict resolution style that we automatically revert to, right? Some of us avoid it, like the plague, right? Conflict, right? Passive aggressive, fly under the radar. I don't want anything to do with it, and we avoid it. Some of us, tackle it head on, competitive, let's bring it on, right? So the course goes over different natural styles that we have, but what it lifts up is how imperative it is to learn all the different conflict styles, because especially in leadership, we have to lean in and lean out, right? Diverse styles to help manage through the situation at hand. So those are probably some of the key nuggets of learning that really come alive in this particular course.
Yeah, it's fascinating that, for the most part, business works well when it's not emotional, but it's those moments where you're challenged or the business is challenged that, bring emotion into those challenging situations. And that's a dynamic that not everyone, is comfortable with. Doesn't always bring out the best in people, and you kind of tend to see people sometimes at their worst. And so, anything we can do to help that along, I think is super awesome. I'd love to get your perspective, and probably this is a different take on it, but I've been asking people in the spotlight about making time to learn. And I think the lens on that has been technical learning. Like, how do you go learn a language, a framework, a tool? But in your case, for soft skills, there's not labs, there's not sandboxes, it's not pushing code and, seeing what happens in production and pen testing. And what advice would you have? How do people put development of soft skills into, a rubric that would help them make time for it?
Yeah. I think I want to touch on not just soft skills, but hard skills too. So I am working on a speaking engagement that I will be presenting in about 2 weeks for UCLA to a group of their tech teams. And it's about learnability, right? And the value of learnability in the workplace today. And learnability means anything from leveling up your soft skills, leveling up your hard skills. And it is pretty intense in the sense that our world is changing so fast. We know this, right? Those of us who've been in school, what we learned in college, what we learned, that backed our degree, it's gone. It is changing so fast. How we do what we do today, right, does not even come close to what we're going to be doing tomorrow. We know that. We see that. AI is disrupting everything. It's an exciting time, right? But the learnability, companies are looking for employees and associates who embrace learning. That is your career relevancy. Your career relevancy is not your experiences. It is not your resume. It is not, 20 years at this company, 10 years at this company. It's, can you adapt? Can you change? Can you keep up with the pace that we have to go through? So learnability, and there's even a concept called learnability quotient, right? So it's out there with your EQ and your IQ and LQ, and it is becoming as popular, if not more popular, than EQ and IQ in the sense of you have to make time. So those of us who struggle, and I do at different times in my life, right? My radar's on sometimes that I'm in that learning zone, and sometimes distractions in life has pulled me off course. But eventually, we're all going to figure it out. We have to carve out time for learning. We have to, because we will be left behind. I mean, career relevancy is all about keeping up with the changing environment. I don't care if it's a changing software, new hardware, you're using new business rhythms, a new reorg, you have different leaders you have to adapt and adjust to. So I think learnability is just taking over what is of the greatest importance in our hiring practices with major corporations.
That's awesome. Switching gears, like a curveball, but my team noticed on your website that you're a classic rock fan.
Classic rock groupie.
Classic rock groupie.
Classic, and I'm proud to claim that title. Yes.
Okay.
So that is just my joy, my hobby, my fun times. My husband and I, we build out our entire yearly schedule around some of our favorite concerts. So yes, we love our concerts, and it's a blast.
And what's on the agenda for 2023?
What's on deck? So next week, I go on my first ever, haven't done this before. It's a 70s rock and romance cruise.
Wow.
Never heard of it. It's a theme cruise, dressing all, 70s and hippie. And I was elementary school, during the 70s. So 80s is more my jam, but that will be really fun. Cover bands, solo players, old school 70s groups. I have a lot of friends saying, so what ports are you going to, right? You're going to cruise, you're going to ports. And I have no clue what ports we're going to, but I can tell you every band that is going to be on that cruise. But after that, we have ZZ Top comes up really fast, and then Foreigner. 80s Foreigner, right. Their farewell tour. So they're going to retire next year, but they're hitting the USANA here, Utah attendees hit Foreigner, and then Bryan Adams and Joan Jett. So Bryan Adams, if you're an 80s fan, and remember Bryan Adams, his newest music is amazing. Bryan Adams will be with Joan Jett here in Utah, and it will be our third time seeing him in 1 year. So he's that good. So yes, classic rock groupie, it completely is one of my adjectives that describes me. So
I've heard multiple definitions. Everyone seems like, when does classic rock start for you? Like, what is the definition?
I'm stuck in the 80s. I don't like to call it classic rock, right? Because to me, classic rock during my, impressionable years was Neil Diamond, although a legend, saw him in concert, surreal, but classic rock to me is my 80s. I love the 80s bands. So
yeah, I heard somewhere that formal definition is anything older than 20 years, which would mean 93. And I'm kind of like, no, 93 is not classic rock. So maybe that dates you and I, but I struggled with that definition.
Yeah. There's a huge rock fest in Vegas this summer. I'm trying to think of what it was. My adult daughters and their spouses all went, and my husband and I would babysat all the grandkids so they could go jam to all of their 90s and early 2000 music. But it certainly is where we the Meredith clan, where we get our fun is in our music. So
that's awesome.
I love our music.
Well, it's been great having this little interview. We like to end with just some random fun questions.
Okay.
So if you're game,
Throw them at me.
I'm just going to hit you with some of these zingers. And this first one just makes me chuckle every time I read it. But if you could switch legs with any animal, what would it be?
Oh, kangaroo. My exercise comes from jumping on a trampoline. So having kangaroo legs, man, the tricks I could do on a trampoline at my age with those legs.
Okay. And if some horrible person told you could only go to one more classic rock concert for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I think I already hit that, like that surreal moment. My husband and I had the chance to bounce to Boston last year and see Genesis.
Okay.
Are you old enough for Genesis?
Yeah, Phil Collins.
Yeah, and Phil Collins was with them. So
Okay.
there were only 6 concerts in the U.S. with Phil Collins, and that was one of them. And he surprised me. It was my, that Pretty Woman moment when, Richard Gere climbs up the ladder, and he has the bouquet of flowers. That was my husband's Pretty Woman moment for me. But that was surreal. We were front row seats, Phil Collins, Genesis. And so I don't know if there's anything out there that would top it.
Yeah, we might have to have Dale do dating and romance
gosh,
tips
he
in
is
his
so good.
Pluralsight Spotlight.
He is
showing
so
us
good.
all up.
What's funny
Good job,
is
Dale.
if he buys the tickets, we're front row, right? He's like, doesn't care what the pocketbook says. When I buy the tickets, we're back in the very back. So if a big concert comes up, I come to him and I'm like, you buy the tickets. I don't want to get him. Because I know he's going to get us superb seats.
That's awesome. Any secret talents?
Secret talents. I don't know. 7 adults call me mom, 13 grand littles call me Nana, and full-time career. I just think working moms, that's as much talent. I don't think anything can top that.
That's awesome.
So,
favorite pizza topping?
mushrooms. Yeah, any mushrooms, spinach.
It's been fascinating. I don't think we've had someone say the same topping in any episode. It's been interesting. Anything you're reading right now?
I am a fantasy fan. So Robert Jordan, my all-time favorite author. And right now I'm doing a series with Brandon Sanderson, who was the gentleman who finished up Robert Jordan books when he passed away. The Mistborn series is what I'm reading right now. So my guilty pleasures, fantasy books.
And it's almost like Pluralsight's branded this question, but we love to know if you're on Team Cat or Team Dog.
Team cat or team dog? Oh my goodness, you are going to have to edit this. Okay, I'll try one more time. My family is rolling over with laughter right now that question was thrown at me. I have a very hard time with animals, all animals. So that does not make me the most popular person in the room. I keep it to myself normally, right? Because people look at you and very judgmental, like, what? But I think there was something in my childhood with animal that created some type of an inner fear. So yeah, neither cat or dog.
These interviews often circle back to bios, and in the spirit of an inclusive workforce, we've added Team Plant because there are people like you that just can't pick Team Cat or Team Dog, and we want to accept them into the family.
I love that.
So
I
you
feel
can be
included.
Team Plant.
Team Plant. And I do. I'm a gardener, and I go to Lowe's and Home Depot, and I find all of the dead plants that are like 25 cents. And I dig down. I'm like, oh, there's still life in here. And I bring it to life. So perfect. Team Plant.
That's perfect.
I like that.
And that's back to change too. So, well, I really appreciate your time today, Alice. Thanks for joining us in the Pluralsight Spotlight. It's been a fascinating conversation today.
Oh, you bet. Thanks for having me.
You bet. And thanks to our audience today. We really appreciate you joining us on Pluralsight Spotlight. We'd love for you to subscribe and like this video, and we're always open to feedback. If you have any, please leave it in the comments. We'll put a few links to Alice's most popular courses in the show notes, and we hope you'll join us again on Pluralsight Spotlight.